Patricia Swain for TrailSafe Nevada has petitioned the Commission to revise the current Nevada Administrative Code to prevent trapping in all Washoe County firearm congested areas. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you very much for hearing our petition. I am Trish. For the record, I am Trish Swain from Sparks, Nevada, and I'm representing TrailSafe. Thank you very much for hearing our request. I believe that you have two versions of that request, one that we submitted in June and then another that was submitted August 9th, and that was too late to be fully considered by the Washoe County CAB. And therefore, they advised us, as you may know, to ask for a continuance until a later meeting so that we can work out some of the issues that have come up around our petition, and so that we can, so there will probably be another version that we will be submitting in the future. So probably this will be continued, but if not, we can talk about what the issues are. We had a very good meeting with the Washoe County Board on Monday, and I assume that you have the draft minutes of that meeting. There was over an hour of testimony, almost all of it in favor of our request. There were many persons at the meeting, including two of the commissioners who were there. Including the people who spoke were the director of Washoe County Regional Animal Control, plus many citizens, all in favor of our request. And then I have entered into the record the newspaper article that covers that meeting so that I don't have to go over it in painful detail for you. Vice Chairman Smith from the CAB is quoted in that newspaper article. I feel it is a fair and reasonable request, and I'm confident that Ms. Swain and Mr. Blakesley can work together and compromise on this issue. And Mr. Blakesley is quoted in the same article as saying, we agree with the congested area part. And then he goes on to express some issues that he has with the petition, but overall, he agrees with the main thrust and intent of our request, which is to ban traps, which we can define what kind of traps we are talking about within the Washoe County firearm congested areas. The background of that, of course, is that there were traps set within a public park in March, and this aroused great public outcry and led to our petition to the board. However, those were not isolated incidents. I have many incidents on my records, which of course are informal because no formal records are kept, about how many incidental trappings do occur statewide for one thing, and then within Washoe County congested areas for another thing. So some of the issues that have been brought to our attention are household pest issues such as mouse traps and so forth. We believe that we can very easily come up with language with all the concerned parties to deal with an issue of that nature. Are there going to be additional expenses for the Department of Wildlife? We will research into that question. And numerous other issues have been brought to our attention. However, our logic remains consistent regardless of the words that eventually are in the legislation, which we hope to see. In areas where firearms should not be discharged, so should traps not be set. If firearms are recognized as inherently dangerous, and many who testified pointed out the difference between firearms, where there's one person who is clearly responsible for what they are doing with that firearm, aiming at something, how can a trap be allowed which is not supervised, which is left unwatched for as long as 96 hours, and which is indiscriminate in the prey that is caught within that trap? So therefore, we consider them to be equal and to fall under the same category. And Mr. Schneider of the Washoe County Animal Control spoke also, and one starting point that I think we all have in common, I know there are a lot of associated issues with this, is dogs. And of course it started with the issue of dogs being trapped. And we don't have accurate records of how many are trapped every year, but we know that dogs are trapped, and this has created tremendous public concern within Washoe County. And I believe you have received some messages on the subject. And we know the special bonds that hunters, the folks in this room, have with their dogs, and I believe that is our point of agreement starting out, and that is something that we all have in common. Therefore, we see our measure as being of great benefit to the people of Washoe County, the pets of Washoe County, and the wildlife of Washoe County. And since there is so much agreement on the main point that we are making, which is to restrict trapping within the firearms congested areas of Washoe County, since that is generally agreed upon, and that is the thrust of what we are trying to do, we are very confident that we can negotiate the language of our petition, resubmit it. We would resubmit it in December, and by that time, hopefully get agreement.
Okay, so my understanding is, just to kind of expedite this process, is either we have a couple choices here today. One is if you can withdraw your petition, then we simply will move on to the next agenda item, and we'll bring it back in December. The other one is we can basically go ahead and discuss the original petition. So if you withdraw it, we can go ahead and come back with what we can show up in a future agenda with your revised versions of it. 'Cause otherwise if we accept one that's going to be, we know is going to be revised shortly, that's going to be a problem. So today, if you just want to withdraw your petition,
Well, we would like it continued in December. We would hope this wouldn't spill over past December, so we would hope that you would place it on your agenda for December. And we'll be appearing before the Washoe County Board in December, hoping to get their approval on our
we're
measure.
required within 30 days,
60 days.
60 days, within 60 days of your petition or our next regularly scheduled hearing or commission meeting, we'll put it on, right?
If the commission and the proponents agree, though, to a continuance, I think that's acceptable.
Okay.
But you have to act within 60 days by the statute, but I think if everybody agrees, it's not a problem.
Okay, so basically we can go ahead and do that. But your petition would of course have to be into the department in a timely manner.
Which would be, to my understanding, because some of this is new to me, 3 days before your meeting, or how long before your
We
meeting?
should probably have it out as long as possible. Mr. Stockton.
Yeah, for open meeting law purposes, the absolute minimum is 30 days. The commission tries to go with, 2 weeks?
The absolute minimum is 3 days, right? Yeah.
That's for the open
Okay.
meeting law, but commission policy is 2 weeks, I think, yeah.
Okay, well,
And it's
fine.
always helpful to have it.
And we'll work
significant time in advance.
with Ms. Swain. We'll work with you on when we need it, so we can get it out to the cabs, and
Oh, I
because we have a
appreciate
mailing process. Mr. Chairman, could I also say, before you
Okay,
take a
Mr.
vote
Mayor.
here, I want to state for the record, I really appreciate your work, Ms. Swain, and Blakesley, and the people that this controversy has been revolving around, are working together to find a solution that it's reasonable, is intelligent, and my hat's off to you, because a lot of other states, I can tell you, the WAFA meetings, this doesn't happen, and we're going to get a much better product through the cooperation. I really appreciate it.
well,
All
I
right.
appreciate that very
So
much.
we can go ahead. We'll hear that petition in December.
Okay.
As long as you bring it up, hopefully I'd like to see it a month before that if you could. That gives us a long time now.
Yeah.
You had a comment, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and for Mrs. Swain here. Some of the, just recommendations, some of the comments I heard from the county boards, they don't know what a congested area is in Clark County and White Pine. So to get this information out to the other county boards, which it will, I think that you have to define congested area with a map, or define what the Washoe County ordinance is. I was at the meeting on Monday night, and I know a lot of the other county boards, they had no clue on what congested area in Washoe County was, so they couldn't vote on them, so we want their support. And the other thing I'd like to see a statement I heard, we want to make sure this is not a ban trapping or anti-trapping, and that should be in there, I think. If you want support from the county advisory boards, this is not an anti-trapping, it's in a congested area of Washoe County. And I think those are some ideas that I heard from the county boards, and it'll go out to all the county boards for recommendations of this body here.
Okay.
When you say not
So-
banning trapping, do you mean that is the language that the language has to be such that it doesn't say that, or how is that defined?
Now, what I'm saying is, if this comes across as a proposal to ban trapping in any shape or form, I, as a sportsman, would be against it. And it's a trapping, ban trapping in congested areas only.
So we're talking about the area that we're
Right,
describing.
and the other thing is, we, as the Wildlife Commission and the Department of Wildlife, control wildlife. And if we just arbitrarily say it's banning trapping in congested areas, and if Washoe County makes all of the county a congested area, then it's automatically banning trapping. So it's got to have something there, and I talked to one of the other commission on it, there's got to be something tied in that if the county expands the congested area, that it's got to be approved by the commission or something, because otherwise, if the county, and as the Washoe County, it's expanding, and let's just say in Spanish Springs, if they expand in there and make Spanish Springs a congested area, then automatically the trapping ban goes along with it, and we might not agree to some of those things. So I don't know how we're going to work that out.
Basically, I think there's a lot of comments here on it, and I think there's a lot of people that hopefully we can work with to make this really good wording. Like, for instance, Mark Jensen, who's the Director of Wildlife Services, who's back in this corner, he's got to be basically happy with it, because
He's got to be exempted.
he's got to be exempted from it or happy with it, because they keep airplanes from falling out of the air by their netting activities. Potentially there's some huge complications. So if you could get with him in coming up with the next version.
We're happy to meet with any interested
Great. I was
parties.
just pointing out a couple of people that you can get with the Trap Association, with Mr. Jensen, NDOW personnel, and the map is a great idea. Everybody likes to see lines drawn on pictures of the state. Okay, we've got Mr. Capurro.
Briefly, in my experience in working with the legislature, and I'm sure that Maureen probably has the same thing, that when you adopt a regulation that simply references either a publication or a map, you cannot use the language that says that as it is now in place and as it may in the future be amended. The Legislative Council Bureau will not accept that language. They want an actual reference to a map as it appears now. And what that will force you to do, and I understand the arguments there, is that whenever it's changed, you'll have to bring it back to the authority that will deal with it. So you don't get that creeping ban situation by doing that. Secondly, I think it would help if you put language in there that basically says that where a county has a congested area or some such, these rules will apply. There's no use roping in small counties where they don't even have any idea what a congested area is and that. So if you're trying to make it statewide, you got a problem unless you make sure that they understand what a congested area is, and unless you exempt those who do not have an exempted area.
Well, we were talking about Washoe County.
Just Washoe
I
County.
understand that, but you're asking a state wildlife commission to rule on something, and so it has to be confined. If you confine it to Washoe County, that's one thing. But if you don't, then you have to have some provision that says that you cannot, if you don't have a congested area, these rules don't apply.
Okay, Commissioner Schrum.
No,
Okay, Mr. Vogler.
ma'am, I see one other area that you probably should have some discussion with, and that's public health.
Yeah,
Rabies, bubonic plague, lots of things lurk in the smaller animals that are regularly trapped. And Mr. Jensen could probably fill in some of those blanks for you, because I know that they do have to do some checking, but there are some public health issues there. and with the coyotes and skunks and other animals packing rabies and bubonic plague fleas, it has to be addressed because originally animal damage control was started as a rabies outbreak in the 30s. Thank you.
All right, so if you're going to withdraw this petition, is that what we're doing at this
Well,
point in
we're
time?
continuing till December, I guess.
So if we continue it, I mean, I made back deck, if we continue this petition.
Oh, no, well, yeah, it would be
See,
reworded.
so it would be a different
Yeah.
petition is what I'm looking at. So
Yeah.
continuance,
It's a
So
withdrawal.
it'd
Where am I?
probably be best, if you're gonna change it significantly, just to withdraw it and submit a new one.
Okay,
All right. That'd be the easiest.
so if you say you withdraw it, then we're done for today. We're back at a later date, and we'll have a totally new product. That way the old one isn't drug into the mix.
okay. All right, thank you very much.
So, okay, so you're withdrawing the petition at this point in time. Is that my understanding?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Would you shut that off? Thank you.
thank
You
you.
do that. Green button?
All right, petition been withdrawn. Let's move on to item number